Welcome back to AMBC, a familiar face joining us now. If you've been a global viewer for a long time,
a few centuries.
Hello, Sarah Daniels.
Hi, how are you? It's like old times,
isn't it? And Gary Jones is our finance guy here on AMBC. And I was just saying, how did you know to invite Sarah Daniels to the program?
Yeah, well, you had mentioned her several episodes
Which,
ago, so.
yeah,
Facebook.
I forgot.
It's Facebook. Well, I mean, we were just saying before the cameras came back on, that's the thing about working early in the morning. I mean, you know, I don't know what I said by noon.
Yes.
Right.
Let's hope that's not true today.
Okay. So I mentioned that Sarah did real estate, was in real estate, and you found her on Facebook because you're Facebook friends, didn't know each other.
No.
Just through the social media thing.
Yeah.
Love the social media. I love how it connects people.
And
really,
Twitter. It's all good.
Yeah, it really does. So fire away, your idea. This is awesome.
Real estate investing, right? We something that people are very interested in. A lot of people think of it as a form of retirement investing. Some people think of it as a mortgage helper. We just want to talk today about tips and traps.
So?
And there are lots of tips and traps. Now, you know what? I get a lot of people that are looking to invest in real estate, and you know, it's like I've got an extra sum of money. They feel, and that they're going to become, you know, the next Donald Trump, the next real estate mogul. And there's a lot that goes into purchasing real estate, obviously. And buying a property for investment is fraught with all sorts of difficulties, and it does take a certain kind of personality to venture into that kind of field. For instance, you know, you've got to know we had a bunch of traps, etc. And I don't know if they're going to be bringing any of them up on screen.
I'm not sure if that part's broken too.
Is that part broken, or we've got stuff broken?
We got a lot of broken things here this morning. Yeah.
Well, you know,
earlier it was my tongue. But
and this would be one of them. But you know, one of the main things I find that people don't really take into consideration when they're going to purchase is the overall costs that are going to be incurred to them.
Right. It's not the initial layout of here's my down payment and I'll find somebody to just pay the mortgage and it's all good.
Absolutely.
In some places, if you're renting a property, you need a business license. I know that's the case in Port Moody. You have to have a business license to have a rental property. There's the taxes. There's the insurance. There's the upkeep. And if you don't factor that into the rent,
and
that's all coming out of your pocket,
even
right?
if you factored that kind of stuff into it, and a lot of people are, you know, I've got my business plan and everything, you've got to factor into the fact that, sure, you might have done all the prerequisites of checking out your tenant, etc., but even the best tenants that on paper can turn out to be a complete gong show in reality. So, you know, you could be dealing with somebody who gives you post-dated checks, the first one goes through, but then all of a sudden the second one does not, and you can't get them out of the place. Now, tenants do have a lot of rights, and so in order to evict a tenant, there's a lot that goes on with it. And, you know, you could end up in a position where you're having to get a bailiff. There could be extensive damages to the property. Okay. And if you haven't factored that kind of stuff in, you're going to find yourself in
big
a world of trouble.
And that dream of getting into property as an income kind of starts to wither. Let's talk about some of your tips, Gary, because these are the things to look for when you're looking at a potential property, right?
Definitely. I know that the biggest mistake that I think a lot of people make is trying to time the market when it is to buy these properties. Right, and they'll
the magic is over, folks.
Don't get me started on that. I totally agree.
There's it's the other part is that it shouldn't be based on the price of the house as well or your rent that you can get in that area. Most people should be trying to measure it off to the GDP. So you can,
that just went over a lot of people's heads, mine included. So how do I measure this against GDP?
You can look at local GDPs as to how it's increasing.
And you should explain what a GDP is.
Gross domestic product.
Gross domestic product, right? So basically, in each community, there's a GDP on if it's increasing or not within the last month, within the last year, and you can base that off of whether you should buy in that place or not. So GDP basically is a preemptive to there's going to be jobs there. Right.
So is GDP an indicator of how well that community is doing?
Not necessarily how it's going to do, but more how many jobs are going to be needed in that place.
Okay.
So jobs will eventually equate to people needing to rent.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
So that's
instead
one.
of just going on, hey, that's a popular neighborhood. Put a little more thought into it, scientific theory.
Having said that, if it is a popular neighborhood, and you know, there's a lot of people that will actually go and they say, okay, I've got, you know, depending on where you are in the province, but let's say you could afford an income property up to $500,000, and that was what you were approved for. That's going to be all in $500,000. Well, you know, some people will make the big mistake of, well, I can get something bigger in this neighborhood than I can in that neighborhood, so I'm going to get the bigger one. Well, the thing is, that bigger property may, in fact, you know, be able to house a family of 6, and that's great. But if it's not near transportation lines, if it's not near schools, if it's not sort of conducive to everyday lifestyles, that bigger home might actually generate less rent than something that is close to schools
Right.
and very family-oriented, that does have those transportation links built in.
Right. So
And it's gonna be-
buying for rental is not the same as buying for yourself.
Absolutely.
You have to put
And-
your desires and wants and I love this neighborhood aside.
And again, that is one of my points too, is buying for yourself is the biggest mistake. When we go and look at a home for ourselves, I mean, you know, obviously we're looking at, everybody has their own personal peccadillos. Some people don't care if there's not a master ensuite. Other people cannot live without that master
Right.
ensuite. Some people need to have that big master bedroom. Others don't care. Other families really like to have a rec room. Some don't care at all. Some people like split entries. Some want a rancher. But that's our personal preferences. When we're looking for an income property in particular, you're looking for, depending on what kind of what neighborhood you're looking at and what kind of money you have to spend on it, you're looking for something that is going to be easily rentable. So if it's for a family, you need to have 3 or 4 bedrooms. You need to have it near schools in a safe neighborhood. And again, don't go and buy something that's got all the flash. Like, I mean, when we're going out and looking for a place, and I think this is true, you know, for virtually everybody, you want to have those beautiful countertops and the lovely refrigerator. You don't need that for a rental property.
Heated tile
in
floors
fact,
in
that's
the bathrooms.
yeah. That unless you're doing something extremely
Right.
high end, and that is a really limited market.
Yeah, you need